Professionally, I started with coffee in 2014, but I've been a home brewer since I was 19, so we're looking at around sometime around 2009. And this was more of an inherited love from my father, who was a coffee freak. At that time, India only had, we're talking like mid 80s, mid 90s, where India only had about India Coffee House and Nescafe. So not even brew was an instant coffee back then. And he used to travel the world, so he used to get instant coffees from all these cities. So I grew up in a house where you had these colorful packs and weird aromas, and I'd go around smelling them. And then so I started a job when I was 19, and with my first salary I got a French press from Cafe Coffee Day. So that was for 799 rupees. At the time it was a big buy for me. And so yeah, I was earning 7,000 rupees, and 10% of my salary is gone in getting one way of making coffee, which I had no idea how to make with. So yeah, eventually with a lot of like experimentation, maybe about like 10,000 bad cups of coffee, you finally reach like that one good cup, and you realize you don't need to, like, nobody teaches you that okay, this is good coffee. It's like you taste it, and instinctively your taste knows that yes, this is good coffee. So that's basically how the evolution became in coffee. My father was primarily into import and export industry. So one of the trips that he made very initially in his career, when I was not even a twinkle in his eye, was his visit to Nairobi in Kenya. So from there he got hooked on to the idea of coffee. He went to Kenya, he went to Rwanda, he went to Ethiopia, and in Ethiopia he saw this particular ceremony, an Ethiopian ceremony called Buna. Buna Maflat is the oldest coffee ceremony. It's the equivalent of a Japanese tea ceremony, essentially, tea ritual. And what happens is that you have this group of people, they sit around and they fresh roast the coffee on a pan. So the entire aroma, the smoke, the experience is supposed to be a shared experience. It's like a meditative exercise. And once the coffee is ready, they fresh grind the coffee by hand with a mortar twister, and then when they pour it, so you keep drinking the coffee till all of the coffee that has been roasted is gone. So they keep pouring sugar, they keep pouring coffee, they keep pouring sugar. It's like a giant pot of coffee extraction and a giant pot of sugar, and they keep mixing and drinking and mixing and drinking. So my father took part in that, and he loved it. He realized that this is something very intimate, but still something that can be shared with someone. So he got into the idea of buying coffee, getting coffee. But at that time, like, you couldn't buy beans everywhere. You couldn't. There was no like Blue Tokai or Bilihu or Kafa Sarado where you could just go to the website and order. So you had either had to have friends who have coffee plantations, which my father did not, or you had the instant coffee which is available in the market. So yeah, so you go from like buying 10 rupee sachets to buying a 70 rupee bottles. I actually don't know how what was the price of the bottles at that time, probably maybe like 20-30 rupees. So yeah, and slowly as he got into it, he started experimenting. He realized that a lot of countries have a lot of coffees which all differ from each other, and overall we have like 10,000 varietals just in the Arabica coffee. And the funny thing is that almost all of the coffee that you see in the Western Hemisphere actually grew from a single plant which was transported from Ethiopia to Yemen, and from Yemen to a small island in the Pacific called La Martinique. And that one plant, that one sapling, gave birth to the entire Western Hemisphere of coffee. You're looking at South America, Latin America, Central America, the Caribbean islands, and these are all prestige coffees which have now become extremely popular, extremely well regarded in the coffee industry. And a similar story happened in India because 400 years ago, a Sufi named Baba Budan, he stole seven green raw coffee beans from a city in Yemen, and that city was Mocha. And he hid them in the belt, and he came all the way to India, and he reached in the south of India, and he planted those seeds. There were seven coffee beans, which luckily sprouted. And it turns out that South India has a very fertile scenario for coffee growing. There is a lot of cloud cover, there's a lot of shade, but there's still a very high elevation over there. So those seven beans over 400 years have now turned India into the fifth largest coffee producer in the world with a produce of about 500 million tons. So coffee grows, and as coffee grows, people who are into coffee, people who want to experiment with coffee, they find that there are more and more avenues. And so was the same with my father. He simply started wandering around, tasting. Because at the end of it, everything about coffee, the idea of experiencing coffee, is refined in a very simple thing, which is to take a sip. Take a sip, and you either like it, you don't like it, and as you go about it, you will find a sip which you like it at the first time itself, and that's your coffee. So it's very simple like that.